Our book project is on The Invisible Man by
Raphael.
Ellison.
The story starts out with the narrator in a manhole.
and describes how society sees him as an invisible man.
Then he remembers a time where he encountered a white man and bumped into him. He then called him So he then threw him to the ground and started beating him. Then he pulled out his knife and ready to slit his throat when he came to realization that maybe he only said that because he could not see him. So then he runs away to later to read about it in a newspaper. With the false story on the news, it really pissed him off.
The narrator then remembers a time with his grandparents, where his grandparents told him that he should be a good black boy to all the whites. His grandparents tell him that if he does this, that he will live a great life with no trouble in his life. He was ashamed for being ashamed of what his grandparents said. He then recalls a time where he was going to give a speech, but was forced to fight in a battle royale against another young black boy. During the battle, he lost and was knocked out. After he woke, he gave his speech to the white people there, and the white people awarded him with a scholarship. Yeah. He attends a college for young black men with potential of education. One day, he has to drive Mr. Norton, a millionaire at the college, around as a chauffeur. He brings him to a cottage where old black slaves used to live. There lives a young black man who had impregnated his daughter. The young man explains himself, and Mr. Norton ends up giving him $100, not $2. And so the narrator then takes him to a bar where he is assaulted by military veterans. They were black veterans. Mr. Norton then passes out, and he demands after he wakes up to be taken back to his room. When they get back, Mr. Norton and the president of the college talk to each other. The president of the college is mad at our narrator for taking him there. He's then sent to a church meeting where at the church meeting, a man in shades is talking to the crowd. He gives a story about the founder of the college, a young slave who was very smart, and he escaped slavery to found this college. As he finishes the story, the guy talking drops his shades, and the narrator then realizes that the man talking is blind, cannot see. He's then summoned by the president of the college. The president of the college is mad. The president's name is Mr. Bledsoe. He then sends him to New York to work off his tuition that he owes as a punishment. He gives him 7 letters of recommendation for him to take to New York for help. The narrator then leaves to New York on a bus. While on the bus, he recognizes one of the old veterans. The veteran tells him that he should hide from the white authorities. The black veteran then leaves, and later the narrator arrives in New York. As he arrives in New York, he sees a crowd, and in the crowd is a black man preaching that they should run the white men out of the town. He becomes afraid that a riot will happen, so he leaves to the men's house to find a room. Over the next few days, he starts delivering the letters of recognition. As he delivers the letters of recognition, he does not get a phone call back. He then reads one of the letters and realizes that the letters of recognition actually are talking crap about him, giving him a bad name. He then gets furious and rips up the notes that he has sent. He's then told to go work at the paint plant, where he goes to work and makes money. His first day there, he is shown how to make the paint white. But, unfortunately, our narrator chooses the wrong chemicals and messes up. The man that shows him how to do it then gets pissed at what he has done. You idiot. You son of a gun. He's then punished and sent to the furnace room, where he will start working from there. As he goes there, he meets the man Broadway, where he will be his assistant. Our narrator is then confused of being with the Union, and Broadway gets pissed. He accuses him that he will kill the narrator if he does not leave the plant. They then start fighting, and as they are fighting, Brockway loses his dentures. They stop fighting, and Brockway starts talking crap on the Union. They then hear a hissing sound, and after it, the furnace explodes. Our narrator then wakes up in a hospital, looking up at one of the nurses. They start asking him questions. such as, "What is your name?" or like, "Who is Buckeye the Rabbit?" The narrator was very confused. He could not understand anything, and then he realized that he was in the paint factory hospital. The narrator is then sent on his way and is fired from the job. After he leaves, he then collapses in the street. A bunch of black people then bring him to this lady named Mary. Mary's a weird cat. She wants to get raped by a black guy. She's weird. The narrator now stays with her, but as he sits there, he starts thinking about his grandparents. The next day, the narrator comes upon a crowd. There's a crowd of these black folks getting evicted from this house. He then gives a speech, and the crowd starts putting the furniture back into the black couple's evicted house. Right before the cops come, the narrator gets away. Right after he gets away, he meets a person named Jack. Jack invites him to come meet him to join an organization. Jack is a weird cat, too. The narrator calls Jack and plans to meet him up at a diner. Jack shows up with his homies and they go to a diner.
You're a homie.
Jack then introduces the narrator to his wife, Emra. Jack explains that he is part of an organization called the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood focuses on social activism, banding together to fight for people who have been dispossessed of their heritage. Jack wants the narrator to be the main speaker for the Brotherhood. The narrator accepts the job with the Brotherhood. The next day, the narrator is told that he will be speaking at a Brotherhood meeting. At the meeting, he steps up to give his speech, but he forgets what he's supposed to say, so he improvises. The Brotherhood, however, does not like his improvisation and get mad at him. They tell him not to do it again or he'll be kicked out or killed. The memories of the narrator's grandparents come back to haunt him. Months pass, and the narrator becomes the main speaker of the Brotherhood. He then learns of Ras the Destroyer. Ras the Destroyer wants to get rid of the whites in this town and the white culture altogether. The narrator then goes to a Brotherhood rally, but as they get there, Ras the Destroyer shows up with his homies. They then start fighting each other over an argument of racism. They keep fighting and they fight and fight. Ras the Destroyer is about to kill a black man, but he does not because he's black. The narrator then gets city leaders to join the Brotherhood's side. Heck yeah. The narrator is then invited to an interview for a magazine about the Brotherhood. 2 weeks later, though, he's accused of making himself look good in the magazine. During this time, during the investigation about this, he is sent away. On his first job away, he encounters a white woman who seduces him. As he is sleeping with him, her husband returns, but does not see him. The next day, he is sent back to his regular job of being the main speaker for the Brotherhood. When he returns, he finds out that the Brotherhood has declined and that they have begun to love his members. He is then not allowed into a strategy meeting that he was invited to. Later, he sees an ex-member selling slave dolls to white people in the streets. The ex-member quickly removes all his stuff and leaves as he sees the cops. However, he is shot dead by cops anyways. The narrator then throws a funeral for the ex-member. Many 200 plus ex-members come to it. The Brotherhood, however, get mad at him for throwing the funeral. A few days later, Ras sees him in the streets. Ras and 2 of his followers start to attack the narrator. The narrator, however, escapes, but while running, the 2 follow him. He then finds a disguise. As he's walking around in disguise, people start talking to him as if they know him, as they recognize him as somebody else. With this identity, he starts using it as if it is his own identity. The narrator is then sent to talk to one of the Brotherhood's main leaders to tell him about the new plan. He learns nothing. The narrator now plans to sleep with Emra, Jack's wife, to find more information. As he's doing this, he decides not to do it, but decides to sleep with another member's wife. He learns nothing after this. However, he is called by the Brotherhood to come to the Harlem city. As he arrives, he finds out that Harlem is in a riot, and the leader of this riot is Ras the Destroyer. The narrator then loses his clothes, which is for his other identity. Saddened by this, he walks away empty-handed. He then encounters Ras the Destroyer. Ras the Destroyer then tries to kill him. The narrator escapes, but is chased by many of his followers. As he is being chased, he falls into a manhole. And in that manhole, he must light whatever he has on him to see for life.
And he decides to stay in this hole until he finds out a plan.